Now we're going to talk about comments made by another tween Gen Z hip hop guy by the name of DDG, who, once again, he's one of these people who I didn't know who he was until he became associated with a more popular pop star. In this case, Halle Bailey, who is the younger sister of thirst trap queen extraordinary Chloe Bailey.
Ah,
And this guy DDG, he's like he's a musical artist. I think he's like a producer or an artist. He does a lot of stuff in the hip hop game, but he was formerly with Halle Bailey. They had a kid together. Now they are apparently no longer together, and he is lamenting on things that he would have done differently if he can go back and talk to his younger self about how to approach dealing with relationships of that sort. So, and by the way, disclaimer to anybody who is a DDG fan out there who watches this video. I understand that I am not very familiar with what DDG does precisely. So feel free to go ahead and let me know how much of an idiot I am in the comments because I don't know what DDG does or who he is. And feel free to also let me know in the comments what it is that he is most notable for because I don't know.
hell,
So
I'm
I'm
about to
just
look
putting
it up
that out
myself.
there. Yeah, I'm putting that out there preemptively because you do have I'm guessing there's a whole lot of DDG people out there. So y'all go ahead and lean into me and let me know what it is that I'm missing about him because I'm around this stuff and I listen to it a lot, but I'm still not very familiar with who he is or what he does. But with respect to this particular subject, it says DDG says he would advise his younger self to stay single as Halle Bailey breakup rumors swirl. DDG said he'd advise his 22-year-old self to remain single as long as possible, to focus on himself and his career. He made the comment while speaking with Jay Cinco during an episode of the No Ordinary podcast after allegedly announcing that he and Halle Bailey had broken up. It's best for you to be single in these years of your life so you can really grind. Ain't nobody going nowhere unless a girl get a new N-word or something. Whoever you like in this moment, but get your ducks in a row first and grind and not have no restrictions, he said, as noted by the Shade Room before comparing the experience of being in a relationship to a part-time job. DDG continued, if I was 22, I would tell myself, bro, just grind it out and let a relationship happen, but only happen when you feel comfortable within yourself as a man. I feel like you shouldn't get into a relationship until you feel like an N word can't DM your girl and take your girl. Like if you feel like there's an N word out there that's more lit, more stable than you, that can take your girl, then you ain't working hard enough. Rumors about DDG's breakup with Halle Bailey began earlier this week when the rapper posted a confirmation message on his Instagram story. He wrote that the two will remain close friends. Halle, on the other hand, has not broken her silence on the matter. The two welcomed their first child together late last year, so on and so forth. Here is some audio and video to go along with those remarks.
You know, I told you this on the side,
yeah,
and I said, bro, like it's best for you to be single in these years of your life so you can really grind.
yeah,
You know, it ain't nobody going nowhere. Bella ain't going nowhere, unless a girl get a new or
yeah.
something. But like Bella ain't going nowhere, Brooklyn ain't going nowhere, whatever. You know, whoever you like in this moment. But get your ducks in a row first and grind and not have no restriction. There's real restrictions when you're in a relationship.
Yeah,
It's like you
definitely.
gotta always consider their feelings.
Yeah,
So it's like you can't really work how you want to work.
yeah,
And if I can tell myself something at age 22, I would tell myself not to get in a relationship because it's damn near like having a part-time job, bro.
yeah,
You really have to apply a lot of time and effort. Like you might be doing videos all day and your girl get an attitude when you're doing your last
yeah,
video, like, nigga, you want to eat.
yeah,
When you gonna take me to the movie? When we gonna go on a date? And then it causes relationship problems in your real life that can affect your content. And you might get mad in the argument. You might not
yeah,
want to film the next day. Might not want to stream the next day. You might not want to go to the studio the next day. Whatever. Like,
yeah,
so I would tell myself if I was 22, I would say, bro, just grind it out let a relationship happen,
Yeah.
but only happen when you feel comfortable in yourself as a man. Like,
Yeah.
I would I'm gonna say that I'm gonna stop yapping after this. My last comment. I feel like you shouldn't get in a relationship until you feel like a nigga can't DM your girl and take your girl. Like, if you feel like it's out there that's more lit than you, more like stable than you, that can take your girl,
Yeah.
then you ain't working hard enough.
All right, there you go. So, wise words or not from Mr. DDG. You know,
Honestly, bro, like I don't really know what DDG does myself, but I guess he's a preacher. I think this guy's a preacher. If not, he has a calling. This guy is ordained. He's been touched by the hands of God. I can't believe you're dropping such hard facts as a young man. Yeah, man, that must have been a hell of a relationship, bro. Oh man, hey man, you got to go through things sometime, bro. And he's still a young cat, man. So he caught that lesson early. So, I think he's on the right path for the lifestyle that he lives. I think there's two worlds that people live in, man. I think people live in the mainstream world where there's mainstream stuff going on, and then there's people that's off the grid and they don't live in the mainstream. They don't care what the Joneses are doing, and that's a very, very small minority. So DDG and this Bailey young lady, they definitely fit within the mainstream model of confusion in the dating world. And so what he was expressing was immaturity on her behalf when it came to her understanding his grind. And what he was expressing for him falling into her little traps was immaturity on his behalf of living in that world, because you can't succumb to her immaturity. That shows how immature you are. And so you're just going to learn a very harsh lesson that it sounds like he learned with this young lady. So it sounded like he grew up a bit from having to experience that firsthand. He may have seen things, he may have heard things, but it's nothing like going through it yourself. So it sounds like he went through the fire and came out a warrior. Because yeah, man, because when you're living in that mainstream world that he lives in, that most people live in that are in the dating market, where there's an immaturity flying around all over the place, there's a certain way that men have to carry themselves. And what he just expressed of getting your ducks in a row, that's very true. Also, in the world where everybody's got locks on their phones, multiple apps, ways to delete text history, ways to delete phone history. It's hard to trust any damn body nowadays that's living in the mainstream world. Now, again, if you're an off the grid person, I'm not talking about you, or maybe I am, but still, nevertheless, yeah, man, people love to play innocent out here. But still, nevertheless, man, yeah, and for in his context where she is, this Bailey young lady, yeah, man, she's got dudes DMing her all the time. I'm pretty sure they had "let me look in your phone" arguments, you know, and he probably seen some stuff or whatever. Hence the part where it was like, hey, man, if you get to the point where you're even feeling jealous enough to feel like another dude has that ability to do that over you, then you're not in your right space, in his world. And so I would say this, and then I'll let you go. Living in the mainstream, living in the mainstream dating pool, there's only one way to go about this if you're a man. And that is full steam ahead on whatever the hell it is you're doing. Do not put aside your project. Do not put aside your passion. Do not put aside the energy that you put into executing any of these things. Because the moment you do, you lost. And then, because I'm telling you, whatever woman that made you do that, she's going to be unattracted to you as soon as you do that. Every moment that you don't do your work to come cake up and lay in the bed, her vagina dries up. She's immediately looking for the next person to conquer. So in his world, the mainstream dating world, men have to be out there constantly executing their passion and their goal, and constantly keeping the woman in a position of, you don't spend enough, you don't do enough, or well, that's fine. And as soon as you succumb to that, you lost. So, so him saying keep your ducks in a row, put all that stuff, blah blah blah. So there's no finish line with this. You constantly have to be rearranging and fixing those ducks, and you constantly have to keep that energy of, hey, I gotta go arrange these ducks. Oh my gosh, again? Yeah, well, you don't like it, and just keep moving, because the moment you do, and the moment you give that up, you're gonna regret all of that stuff that you gave up in order to placate to somebody that ended up cheating on you anyway. So wise words to a young man who's living in a very fast world with all of these fast people in this crazy dating market. So word of advice, man, find you somebody that's off the grid and get off the grid your damn self. But what are your thoughts, Mr. JV Wins, on what Mr. DDG, Pastor DDG, dropping facts out here? What are your thoughts, man?
The words make sense. What he said makes sense. I've always contended that in order for a man to be able to successfully date, now you can date, to be able to do it successfully. In order for a man to be able to successfully date, there's three things that he needs. You need to have, and these are all of the same level amount of importance, in my opinion. You need to have reliable transportation, meaning, you own your transportation. You're not constantly in and out of the shop making repairs. One day is running, the next day it doesn't. No, you're on top of it. You make the note, you're servicing it, you keep the oil change, you keep the maintenance up on it comfortably. And you can get from point A to point B whenever you feel like it without any complications. The second thing that a man needs in order to be able to successfully date is a roof over his head. And it has to be a roof that you are not sharing or cohabitating with others. You're not living with parents or relatives. You don't have roommates. You are maintaining a space by yourself for yourself, and you can do it comfortably. Now, it can be a house or it can be an apartment. The point is, you need that private space that is your own domain, that you have complete and utter control and dominion over. And the third thing that he needs is a decent amount of disposable income. He needs discretionary income. After you've paid all your bills, after you've paid the rent or the mortgage, after you have paid for all of the maintenance on that car, and you filled the gas tank up and you've gotten all your groceries, when all of that is said and done, you still have enough money to where you're not relying on your next influx of income in order to be able to keep it moving. You've paid everything and now you still have money in your pocket to shake stuff. If a guy has all three of those things, you can be out in the world and successfully date. See, I've never put a dollar amount on this stuff. And if you listen to enough of these toxic red pill podcasts where they bring on toxic women, they'll have you thinking that you need to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You need to be a millionaire. You need to be able to do all of this stuff. You got to be Captain America. You need to be a millionaire, and you got to be 6'6", and you got to have the best sex game in the world. You basically got to be perfect. You have to be a super soldier. Like if you watch enough, if you consume enough of if you consume enough of that content on the internet, it'll have you thinking that that's what you require. You don't even need to put a dollar amount on it. If you have those three things in whatever way that you can manifest it, you can go out here and you can do some damage dating wise. So from that standpoint, what he is saying is true, because if it takes a guy postponing his dating life, putting women off to the back burner, relegating them to second fiddle, because his primary focus is mastering his craft, maximizing on his opportunities, really being in the lab, getting to work. You know what I'm saying? If he's prioritizing that, and as a result, women take a back seat because you have a bigger picture in mind in order to be able to secure those things for himself, then that makes complete and total sense. So from that standpoint, I'm with you when you say that he's rather prophesizing. Because in my opinion, if you're a guy and you are ill-equipped when it comes to those three main qualifiers, you should probably take a seat and work on yourself to the best of your ability so that you can come out fully fledged and have all of the requisite tools necessary to be a more viable dating prospect out here in this very crazy dating world. Where I will depart in what he said, however, is when he mentioned if you ever feel as though another dude can come and take your girl, he can DM your girl and take your girl if he has more money, if he's more lit, whatever that means, so
You
on
know
and
what
so
that
forth.
means.
I
You know
know,
what
I
that
know.
means.
So where I will depart from what he had to say
Uh,
is if that's the litmus, you'll never be away, you'll never be removed from dealing with that stuff. Because unless your name is Bill Gates or Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or uh Jeff Bezos, okay? Unless you're these people, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, unless you've got money on that level, there's always a guy who has more money than you.
that's true.
It's it's a hamster wheel that you will run on into perpetuity, chasing that carrot. Because if the litmus is whether a guy can come and take your girl because he has more than you to offer, you're going to be running on that thing forever because there's always a guy with more money. There's always a guy with a bigger house. There's always a guy with a nicer car. There's always a guy with a higher net worth. Always. There's always a guy who has a bigger jet. There's always a guy with, more stuff that he can entice some of these women with. So if you're a guy and you find yourself in an environment in which that's the litmus, in my opinion, it's an indication of the type of women that you're choosing to give your energy to.
Correct.
And that is the kind of thing that I think a man can adjust. Now, you don't have any control of over what a woman says or does or wants. You really don't. But can you maximize on everything that you got going on? Can you get the roof over your head and then make gradual improvements on that? Yes. Can you get the car or the vehicle and then over time make gradual improvements on the car or the vehicle? Yes. Can you have the disposable income and then gradually over time make improvements to the amount of disposable income that you have at your, not to sound redundant, money at your disposal? Yes. But is there always going to be a guy who has more? Yes. And if you're fighting against the idea that you want a woman to be secure, that another guy who has more can't come and take her from you, you should probably adjust the type of energy, the type of women you're giving your energy to.
Correct.
Because you're never going to be able to overcome that. And you use the word mainstream, a lot of guys in his position, himself included, are dating in the matrix,
Correct.
where you are constantly going to be giving your energy to those types of women who make themselves available to someone who can give them more.
Yes.
And at that point, it's your fault, bro, not theirs. It's yours.
Correct.
But that's our fatal flaw. We have like our judgment when it comes to this kind of stuff is very askew. Like we choose to buy into this hype instead of just going the other way. And as you say, going off the grid. But DDG can't get off the grid.
No,
He
can't.
needs to be popping on his Instagram and
Correct.
his TikTok and his music. And,
Yes.
and he needs to be able to show up to these events with the next pop star or hip hop female star or Instagram model.
Correct.
He needs to be able to feed that beast. So he, in this respect, is his own worst enemy, him and other men like him. So while I can respect the words that he uttered on the surface, at the end of the day, I don't believe him. Because all he's going to do is maybe get more money, get a better car, maybe he'll get a nicer house, maybe he'll get a little bit more stuff, but all he's going to do is turn around and talk to the next chick who's all about the stuff.
Correct.
And at any given moment, he can be replaced by the next guy who has the next most amount of stuff.
Yes.
So unless he is going to undergo a paradigm shift and change the way that he goes about giving his energy to certain types of women, he can talk like this all he wants to. He'll never be removed from this environment. And in my opinion, he'll have no one to blame but himself.
I mean, well said, man. And that's what I was saying as far as, being off the grid, because he can't live that life. So for people that are living in the matrix where he lives, this was gospel for those people. And for the most part, that's the majority of people in the dating pool right now. They're not doing it to the point to where they're at DDG status, but this goes on at office spaces. This goes on when people are at the grocery store, or they link up and they meet somebody, or whatever dating apps, however people meet people nowadays. All right. Generally speaking, you're going to meet somebody that's in the matrix themselves. So if you are dealing with a matrix person, you have a decision to make. First, you have to be able to make that analysis. Am I dealing with somebody in the matrix or not? And if you're dealing with somebody in the matrix, that goes by a certain rule. And you have to carry and conduct yourself a certain way. And the way that he put it is the best. And the one kickback that I would give him is that he thinks that there's an end game to this, that he needs to be more popping and more lit.
Right.
But there is, like you mentioned, there is no more popping and no more lit, because that girl has an appetite that can never be satisfied. And so even if he is more popping, he can be 10 times more popping, more lit, right? Get a girl that's a step below this Bailey young lady, and she would do the same thing with a guy that's below where he's currently at now. So it doesn't even matter if the guy's more popping or not, because this girl has a crazy appetite because she's in the matrix. So that's why I mentioned, and I caveated at the beginning, that you have to be, there's mature women that are off the grid. There are mature men that are off the grid. So those are the people. If men really want a woman that's going to stay solid, stay 10 toes down, blah, 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 blah. All right. You're going to have to get a woman that is not participating with none of this stuff. She doesn't care about none of the Joneses. She barely, if any, has any social media apps. Like, she just doesn't care about that stuff. All right. She's got her own thing popping. Most likely, what most people would consider like a nerd, because she's so off the beaten path of where everybody else is doing. But when you in his boat and you want the baddest chick in the game, and you want all this other stuff, and you want all this stuff, most likely she's in the matrix.
Yep.
And so if you are in the matrix as a man, because the women are going to do their thing, they don't need an instruction manual. All right. If you're a man in the matrix and you're doing this stuff, the answer and the solution to that is, as I mentioned, getting your ducks in a row. It is falling in love with your passion. That is what drives you. That's the only thing that can drive you. And if you decide to bring this person along with you, or give them as much attention and credibility as your passion, you lost. Because as soon as that situation blows up in your face, there's going to be instant regret. Man, I didn't do X, Y, and Z because I was over here doing that. Man, I could have been over here. I was moving so much before I met her. Then I met her. Then I started doing all this dating whoop-de-whoop stuff. And it blew up in my face. And I can see how much ground I done lost because I was over here playing with this stuff. Yeah, because you're trying to do an off-the-grid thing with an on-the-grid woman. So for this guy's sake, that is gospel for people in the matrix. So yeah, I would give that one caveat that, he still probably has a little bit more understanding to get, because he thinks he got to get popping more, a little bit more lit in the game.
Yes, he thinks that there's an apex, and like, bro, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yes.
If you think that you can get more popping and more lit and have this not happen to you, or have it to where you will be able to cease having to deal with some of the woes that you dealt with, whatever those may have been with your previous situation. There's no end to this. There's no end to this. These types of people are hypergamists to the fullest.
Yes.
And they believe in it. They believe in it as a way of life, and they will not apologize for it 1 second. And to
No.
be honest, you really can't. I mean, you can, because to a certain extent, a person's actions are their responsibility. So if a person has toxic and corrosive tendencies, it's appropriate to call them out on that. But ultimately, can you say, "Oh, I'm going to hold women responsible for how dysfunctional a lot of this stuff is"? In my opinion, you can't, because their behavior is more often than not rewarded. So the way that I see it, if a woman, hypothetically speaking, I'm not being specific in any kind of way, but if a woman is going to conduct herself in such a way that she can get with this guy and maybe get taken by another guy because that guy is, he entails everything that DDG described in that video clip, she can't really be blamed per se, because her behavior at the end of the day is being rewarded by the next guy who comes along to step up and give her what it is that he thinks she wants, until she continues to get more and more and more. It's like you said, their appetite for this stuff is entirely insatiable.
It
There's
is.
never going to be an end to it. There's
No.
never an amount of money that's enough. There's
Right.
never a car that's nice enough. There's never a house that's big enough. There's never a height that's tall enough. There's never amount of tattoos that are cool enough. There's never the kind of hair there's never the kind of hairstyle or swag that's swaggy enough. There's always more. And who is that on? The people who reward the behavior, or the people who seek it because they know that they can get rewarded for it? So at the end of the day, a guy in his position is going to have to shift his paradigm.
Yes, he
And I
does.
don't believe he's in position to do it. The way that
No,
he's
no.
speaking, he is firmly entrenched in the idea that all he has to do is acquire more. That's and him and others of his ilk believe the very same thing. And if you believe in the notion of the trickle down effect, which I absolutely do, this has transcended into regular society. Everybody's dating in the matrix, from the CEO of a Fortune 500 company all the way down to the person who works cashier at McDonald's. Everybody is doing the same thing. So you have to shift your paradigm and know the kind of person that you want, and be assured in yourself that you don't care about what you're missing out on by making that shift. And if you are not firm in your ability to do that, then you are going to have to just understand that there's no end in sight for this. It is a hamster wheel that you will be running on forever, because there's always more stuff. There's always more stuff. So he's in a rude away. He's in for a rude awakening if he believes that all he has to do is acquire more stuff, and he will be impervious to being done however dirty he may or may not have been done when it comes to dealing with women in that particular space. And if he thinks that he can just get more and be impenetrable, you got another thing coming, bro, because it ain't gonna stop. There's always more stuff.
Yeah, man, I agree. And last thing I'll say is, just for people that are in the matrix, because sometimes, bro, it's hard to get out. It's the matrix, it's the matrix for a reason, baby. So, while you in there, accomplish and achieve, man. Accomplish and achieve. Do what you must do. Try to get your way up out of there for sure. Some people you gotta know you in the matrix first. Get up out of it. So some of these people are just all up in there. But all I gotta say, man, is accomplish and achieve. Accomplish and achieve. These achievements, like again, like rewards, trophies in your life or whatever. That's not the main thing. But when you accomplish and you achieve, hopefully your accomplishments and your achievements has something to do about reaching your self-actualization. You have a goal out there that you want to go achieve it, then go achieve it. And then when you go out there and achieve it and you're reaching these levels of this actualization or whatever, then you can give back and you can do things. At least that's how I view it in my world. And so I look at it like working out, like training. Like I have a goal that I want to accomplish. I'm trying to get like this. And I know that it requires this many steps, and I got to do that. And I got to, and once you hit that, that there's more that you can achieve and more that you can do or whatever. But once you've accomplished so many goals, you can help others accomplish their goals. Men's duty, in my opinion, men's duty is to be out there and do things to like enrich the world like that. Our job is to be outside and accomplishing. And in some weird primitive way that these women, they want to see a guy do that. Even the women in the Matrix. And so that's why I say for this guy or anybody else that's living out there, just go out there and accomplish yours. If you so happen to have a child with a woman like this guy did here, give back to your child. Do your fatherly duties as much as you can with this woman, but go out there and achieve. So it's not all doom and gloom. If you are in the Matrix, you can still be the best version of yourself as possible, but try to mature yourself in a way while you're on this thing to get off the grid and know that there's a way to live outside of all of this thoughting that's going on, both male and female, because everybody out here is just giving it up. It is absolutely disgusting, to be honest. And when I was a younger person, I was like, damn, man, why it's so hard to, you know what I'm saying? It was putting you through the horse and pony show. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was, playing hard to get. Now, not nowadays, everybody's giving it up. And so, I thought that would be cool. It ain't. It's gross. So I choose to be off the grid, man. Off the apps, off the club scene, off the bar scene. I choose to do that. And so, but while I'm doing that, also go out there and achieve your goal. And even if you get you a woman off the grid, you still got work to do. So keep your ducks in a row. So there's a lot to be said here. So I agree, man. Men need to be out there accomplishing. But there's two sides of it. And how are you living in the Matrix? And do you have the mindset of all I need is 6 figures, like you said? All I need is that, because that, trust me, there's levels to this. And even if you got you a woman that you think that 6 figures will satisfy, trust me, there's a bigger bag she wants now. Now she know you got it. So get you a woman outside of the Matrix, man. Get yourself up out of it. And while you're doing all that stuff, you should still be achieving the best you can. So best of luck to you, DDG, man. Oh boy, you know what I'm saying? I think he's on the right path for a person living in the Matrix. So I don't think he's going to get out of it. He seems to be entrenched. He's a celebrity, dude. So at least keep your eyes forward and try to achieve the best you can in the field that you're in. That's what I can tell this man.
Yeah, I just think that there's always more stuff. So
Yeah,
he's in for a rude awakening if he thinks that there's an amount of stuff he can accumulate and just have it to where he's always going to be a woman's prime choice. It's just there's always more. There's always the guy with the next most stuff. You're not going to be able to come from up under that. It's forever. So good luck, bro. But I think you need to shift your paradigm. I think you need to shift how you look at it.
Get out the Matrix, bruh. Past the DDG.